The bully slapped a little black boy in a diner, not knowing his father was the boss of the Mafia. The Cornerstone Diner was usually a sanctuary of quiet, blue-collar comfort, the scent of strong coffee and griddled onions hanging in the air. But on this Tuesday afternoon, the calm was shattered by an act of spectacular, casual cruelty. At a corner booth sat Silas Carter, an impeccably dressed man in a charcoal suit, with a quiet intensity that suggested every one of his movements was calculated. His hair was perfectly cut. His hands were steady, and his eyes, though kind when looking at his family, held the cold, ancient wisdom of a predator. Across from him sat his 8-year-old son, Ethan, a bright-eyed boy who was sketching furiously on a notepad, occasionally humming under his breath. A few tables away sat Victor D'Angelo, a loud, crude man who thought his expensive watch and leased sports car made him a local kingpin. Victor was on a business lunch, a loud, boastful affair, and Ethan's humming was clearly getting on his nerves. Victor shot a glare toward the father and son. Silas didn't react, he was watching Ethan draw. Victor finally slammed his fist on the table, silencing his entourage. "Hey, kid!" he roared across the diner. "Shut that annoying little noise up. Some of us are trying to conduct business, not listen to your little humming." Ethan froze, his eyes wide. He looked to his father for direction, his little body tightening with fear. Silas Carter placed his hand gently over Ethan's and looked at Victor. His voice was soft, barely above a whisper. "He's just drawing, sir. We'll try to keep the noise down." Silas's measured response only fueled Victor's sense of entitlement. Victor lumbered over to their booth, standing over them like an angry giant. "You'll try? No, you'll stop. You people always think the world revolves around you, don't you? Can't control your kid. Can't even afford to eat somewhere quieter." Victor looked at Silas's tailored suit with clear contempt, mistaking quiet elegance for a cheap knockoff. "Now make him stop before I make him cry." Silas met his gaze, his hand still on his son's shoulder. "That will be enough, sir. Return to your table." The quiet authority in Silas's voice seemed to confuse Victor. He wasn't used to being defied by anyone he considered beneath him. In a flash of ugly, misplaced rage, Victor pulled his hand back and delivered a sharp, open-handed slap across the side of Ethan's face. The sound cracked through the diner, instantly silencing every conversation. Ethan whimpered, clutching his cheek, his eyes flooding with tears. The moment the slap landed, the atmosphere in the diner changed entirely. It wasn't just shock. It was pure, paralyzing dread. Silas Carter did not raise his voice. He did not lunge. He remained seated, moving with the terrifying stillness of a glacier. He gently lifted his son, stood him behind the booth, and whispered, "Stay there, son. Daddy needs to talk to this man." Then Silas stood up. He was taller than Victor, and his quiet intensity felt heavier than any shout. The change in his face was profound. The warmth for his son was gone, replaced by a cold, surgical fury. "You," Silas said, his voice a low, gravelly sound that didn't carry past their booth, yet seemed to vibrate in everyone's bones. "You just hit my son." Victor, high on adrenaline, still hadn't grasped his mistake. "Yeah, I did. What are you going to do about it?" "Call the cops." Silas reached into the breast pocket of his charcoal suit and slowly pulled out a business card. It was thick, black cardstock with elegant silver lettering. He laid it flat on the table facing Victor. "Silas, the judge, Carter managing partner, Cassidy and Carter Asset Group." Victor scoffed. "Asset Group? What are you, a debt collector? Get lost." Before Victor could turn away, the bell above the diner door jingled softly. 2 men entered. They were dressed in black suits, sunglasses obscuring their faces, and they carried no obvious weapons. Yet they moved with a synchronized, silent efficiency that was instantly chilling. They surveyed the room, their eyes locking onto Silas. They were his detail. Silas leaned forward, his eyes never leaving Victor's. "Victor D'Angelo," Silas stated. rattling off the bully's full name, address, and place of employment with terrifying ease. You have a loan with First City Bank. Your car, the red leased Ferrari parked outside, is 4 months delinquent. Your business lunch? They're your investors. They're about to pull out because you missed the deadline on the Seabrook deal. Victor finally realized who he was dealing with. This wasn't a janitor. This was a man who knew his entire life's blueprint. Panic flashed in his eyes. "Wait, I don't know you." Silas signaled with the slightest tilt of his head. One of the men in black approached Victor's table. He reached down and smoothly picked up Victor's briefcase, the one containing the crucial Seabrook deal papers. He didn't say a word. "Hey, give that back," Victor screamed, lunging. The second man stepped in front of the briefcase holder, placing a hand on Victor's chest. The touch was light, but Victor couldn't move. Felt like hitting a wall of concrete. Silas continued, his voice still low and mesmerizing. "I don't call the police, Victor. I solve problems. And my problem is that you just raised your hand against my son. My son's tears carry a very high price." Silas then made a second, equally subtle signal. Outside, the loud, sickening crunch of crumpling metal echoed from the parking lot. Everyone rushed to the window. Victor's leased Ferrari, his pride and joy, was now being methodically crushed between two massive, unmarked black SUVs. Like a tin can, the entire diner watched in horror. Victor screamed, a wounded animal sound. "My car! That's a $250,000 car." "It was delinquent," Silas said dismissively. "My asset group just repossessed it. Early. And I think we'll use the scrap metal for paving a new road." Silas walked over to the investors' table, giving the three suited men a long, meaningful look. They immediately understood. An investor quickly picked up his briefcase, nodding fearfully to Silas. The second followed. The third stood up, cleared his throat, and looked at Victor. "Victor," the last investor said, his voice trembling, "the Seabrook deal is off. We're cutting all ties. Effective immediately. You just lost your funding, your clients, and your career. And you lost it all because of your own stupid temper." Victor D'Angelo was now standing in the middle of the diner, stripped of his car, his money, and his power, all within 3 minutes of the slap that he tried to appeal to Silas. "Please, Mr. Carter. I'll apologize. I'll pay. I'll do anything." Silas walked back to his booth, reaching into his wallet. He pulled out a crisp $100 bill and placed it on the table to cover the cost of the damage Victor had caused to the peaceful atmosphere. He picked up his son's hand, comforting the spot where the slap landed. He gave Victor one last, cold look. "The price you pay, Victor, isn't paid in money. It's paid in consequences. You taught my son a lesson today. You taught him that bullies get dealt with, not with words, but with swift, total elimination." Silas and Ethan walked out of the diner, leaving the ruined Victor D'Angelo weeping over his shattered life. The two men in black followed them, silent protectors disappearing into the afternoon. Outside, Ethan looked up at his father. "Who were those men, Daddy?" Silas smiled, a terrifyingly kind gesture. "Just some of Daddy's partners, son. Now let's go get you some ice cream. And don't worry about the noise. You can hum as loud as you want."